Today's scripture passage comes from Mark's Gospel, the 10th chapter, and in it we find Christ continuing on his journey to the shadow of the cross that he will face in Jerusalem. And during this journey, he is taking his apostles with him to be the cornerstone, the part of the foundation of this movement, the way, the church. And he's teaching them, giving them information and advice on how humankind is to find God, to be saved by Christ, and that he was the Messiah. And as he's telling them these stories, the apostles are confused. They believe that, they've done all that they could to earn their place in heaven, to be seated at his right and at his left. And so Peter says to Christ, now Jesus, we've given up everything that we've owned, everything we've had, everything we've done. We deserve, by our own merit, to be by your side. We've done everything we're supposed to do. Christ must be exasperated at this time with these folks. And he says to them, look, yes, you have followed me, and you have done most of all that I've asked you to do, but there's no one who is going to give up that won't be embraced by my Father. But you have to understand this very important part of being a follower. You have to be last. You can't do all that you do for your own well-being, for your own self revelation, that you're not about the business of saving yourself. That's what I will do. And an example of your following me is the shedding of stuff, the release of those things that are causing you to be self-righteous, that you must be the servant of all. And, he has to be exasperated with them. But it calls to mind for us at this moment, at this time, for about what is going to happen beginning tomorrow. Lent begins. Now, our Lenten journey is not about pointing to what we do, how much we're saving ourselves, how much our work is contributing to our own salvation. Lent is about the business of shedding ourselves of those things that prevent us from being closer and closer to Christ. It is about shedding anger, shedding self-righteousness, about the desire for revenge, about shedding the idea of unforgiveness. It's much more about that than it is giving up chocolate. Because, see, the purpose of Lent is for us to be closer and as close as we can be to God as we come out of Lent and going into Easter than it is about how we're feeling when we go into Lent. If we're not any better, any closer coming out of Lent than we were going into Lent, then all we did was give up chocolate. All we did was give up coffee. It's much deeper than that. It is about an actual transformation of our faith. And you see, our journey is a consistent transformation of our trying and reaching to be better and closer to God than we were the day before. Lent is that time of the year where we as a church community come together and do a communal and individual and church self-sacrifice, so that the church, the community, the world, every single one of us will be closer to God than we were when Lent began. That's the purpose of Lent. It is about bringing a swell of joy and love and sacrifice so that we can be closer to God. It's not about giving up chocolate. It's about loving one another and shedding those things that prevent us from being closer to God. I get this wonderful opportunity to speak to wonderful groups. I was at the Little Sisters of the Poor in Enfield, and Xavier High School here in Connecticut, in Middletown. And I get to meet wonderful people like, well, not yet, but I will one day, Fred Romano, who's in Florida. And together, why don't we every single morning say to one another and say to our God, Lord, what are we going to do today